digging ourselves out of this transportation mess. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's kind of a long-term budget question. Our land use committee has requested in writing and at a coalition meeting with Patrick Sweeney and the streetcar group for a breakout, maybe cost per mile of the overhead pole wire system versus the track bed rail system. And to this point, it's been a tepid response. Is there any reason we couldn't, say, in 30 days, contact your office and find out when we might get that information? And if so, who could we contact? Is there someone, a staff person that you would assign that to?
So the question was, we've looked at establishing in the city. I'm going to add a little bit to your question for their background. We're busy putting together a draft plan for what the city should look like between now and the next 30 years. One of those efforts is which of the corridors, I should say, not necessarily streets, will be prioritized for rapid transit, intensive rapid transit. It could be frequent bus service, it could be electric bus service, it could be streetcar. Out in this part of town, it could be light rail maybe, but it's probably too big for most of the streets out here. But we look at sort of ridership, we look at redevelopment opportunities, we look at is there interest in neighborhoods and in business districts for more transit. That's the first thing we do, and that's where we're at in this proposal. We don't actually yet study. We can probably afford to study maybe 4 corridors intensively for what's the best sort of way to improve transit service. We're not there yet. We're still at about 12 corridors within the city. Once we narrow it down to like 4 or 5, that's when we go into the process of comparing the no-build, do nothing, to just regular bus, rapid bus, more frequent bus, to electric bus, to bus, what they call bus rapid transit, streetcar, light rail. So we're probably 5 to 6 months away from that phase where we look at, all right, we think we know where we have the best opportunity to improve transit usage based on some of those factors, and then we'll get it down to 4 or 5 when we actually look at what's the best way to do it. And we do cost benefit. We don't have electric buses in Portland. If you've been to Seattle and you've been to other cities, you know there are a lot of electric buses. That'll be on the list to look at, and that'll be a transparent process that will involve everyone.
But my question, well, you already have, what, 10 miles, 12 miles of existing infrastructure that's been constructed.
For a streetcar?
Yes.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, did I miss your question?
Yeah, I'm just looking at, based on that, and I'm sure that you had budgets and there was analysis of all of that and follow-up, especially in lieu of the tram and the accountability there. Well, we'd be interested if you can analyze that and give a cost breakdown of the poles and wires versus the track bed and the rail. There was a lump cost. What portion was the pole and wire? What cost was? And it may take some research, and we'll be patient. But our land use committee would be very interested in
Sure.
in a comparative study of that.
Well, I just went off on the wrong part of your
That's
question.
fine.
If this is Warren Jimenez from my staff here, and if Kelly's got my card, if you could email me that, we'll get working on it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Sam's Bob Richardson. As you know, I'm a member of the Portland Streetcar Citizens Advisory Committee and have participated in the district working group for Southeast, not for this neighborhood. But I wanted to follow up on Ed's question because for this neighborhood association and in the land use committee, it does keep coming up as a discussion point. Certainly, vibrant conversations have come up about it. And all of the working groups, as far as I know, have recommended that electric trolley buses be studied for corridors where streetcar is not suitable. But I think neighborhoods have a concern that because this is called the streetcar system plan, that might be a preordained conclusion. And I think what this neighborhood is looking for, so they can make its own inputs and recommendations into the planning process, is just what are the cost-benefit ratios of trolley bus? What does it cost to string some wires? And the answer to that question may be, maybe it's great, maybe it's not worth doing, but there is a feeling that the technical information has not been forthcoming as fast as it should to make those kind of assessments.
Fair enough. And like I said, the work of selecting the bigger number of routes now moves into the Portland plan. And so, and And when we do that, I would encourage you to look at cost and benefit. In the 8-9 miles of streetcar that have been, so we look at it all, and it's all very transparent. The federal government requires that you look at a number of different modes if you're going to get funding from them. So rest assured, it'll be very upfront. But one thing is just, it's been my experience, is to look at the cost and the benefit. The private sector's willingness to invest in property adjacent to streetcars is, so much more than they're willing to invest next to frequent bus or trolley bus or others. But, that's why we have these processes. You'll have an opportunity to weigh in and poke at that and ask really good questions.
One more question?
One more question? Yes, sir.
Is the city looking at ways to possibly lessen the impact of like a major snowstorm like we had last time? I'm not talking about plowing streets. I realize that's not feasible because you don't have the. But I mean things like possibly, designating alternate sizes of streets as non-parking so that people can even get out of the area, out of the neighborhood. Simple things as opposed to, last time with especially people parking both sides of the street, you couldn't even get down the street, much less,
Yeah, the short answer is yes, there is always room for improvement. And in this particular case, I think, I've been very upfront, there's definitely room for improvement between communications, between transit riders and TriMet and the city and service. So when you're standing at the transit stop and you've got the mayor on TV saying, everyone take transit, and then they've canceled the buses. And I would say that's pretty bad inclement weather response. So we need to be honest, hardworking people. I just want to say again that the folks at the Portland Office of Transportation worked their hearts out, did the best they could. I think there's a number of things that we're looking at other cities, and in your specific to your question, you all know your neighborhood, so I encourage you to go to mayorsamadams.com, an opportunity to give your ideas there as well. We've got a short survey up there. In other cities, they have smaller blades that go on SUVs. And if you can imagine every neighborhood in the city, we've got someone who volunteers at their own liability and everything else, the opportunity to plow those mounds that are at the intersections. And if you start plowing early enough, even down some of the side streets, you can sort of keep them more passable than we were able to keep them. Our equipment is, for your neighborhood, our equipment in some of your streets is just too wide. We'll be wiping out, mirrors and such. So I think there's a lot we can improve upon in terms of our snow response. I am hopeful that was a once in 60-year snow, but I don't think we can count on it. So we need to look at contingencies. Another improvement that we can make at the time is it was we didn't understand as clearly that the snow did not extend much beyond the metropolitan area. And our ability to ask Salem and Corvallis and Albany and others, to make the hour-and-a-half drive. Gresham did that, and they got some National Guard plows. I think that we could have called for some help a little further away than we normally would. I think a percentage of them would have said yes, and I think we could have kept more intersections clear. So we'll continue to work on that. Thank you for the time. I really appreciate it.